Hello and welcome to my living room. I'm Kathleen Hershner. Because of my work on the radio, I've met a lot of people through talking to them on the phone. And my guest and friend who's here with me today is no exception. In fact, I think most of our relationship has been conducted over the telephone. My friend Emilio Barbaran is here with me from Albacete. Welcome to the TV show, finally.
Thank you, Kathleen. Barbaran.
Barbaran. Did I crucify it? Emilio, you and I have known each other for about 3 years, and I've only met you once, and yet you're sitting here with me now, and I feel as comfortable with you as I would with a person that I see every week. And the reason for that is because you've been a caller to my program On the Rise for almost 3 years, and you and I have talked, I don't know, at least once a month on the radio.
Yes, I've been calling you on the phone.
Yeah.
About your radio program for at least 3 years. And my reason for this is just to improve my speech in English.
Right.
I think it's very helpful.
You mean your reason wasn't just to call and talk to me?
Well,
I'm teasing you.
Whenever I call you, I try to communicate something.
Right.
I won't call without any message.
That's what I like about talking to you when I'm on the radio, and what I've enjoyed about our little phone relationship, which, by the way, is totally sanctioned by your wife, Teresa. It's no secret that you and I talk frequently. But one of the things I like about talking to you is that you always have something to say, and you usually try to call when I've talked about something or when there's a topic that you want to contribute to. And because of your work as an air traffic controller, we've had many opportunities over the past few years to talk about things having to do with air travel and some of the challenges.
Yeah, you're right. My work is, I work as an air traffic controller in Albacete. I'm posted in Los Llanos Military Air Base.
Right.
And I've been working there for at least 22 years.
So you've only been an air traffic controller. That's been your only career?
Yeah. At first, I was a radio operator, and then I was selected for doing this course in Salamanca to become an air traffic controller.
I forgot that you'd been on the radio. That's right. I remember we talked about that once.
I think so.
Did you have your own show?
No. My own show? No, I don't have any show.
You worked behind the scenes in radio?
No. Radio operator. It's a military radio operator.
Oh, I see.
No.
So working with like the communication between the pilots and the
That's right.
tower.
Yeah, communication systems.
Right.
And then I specialized in air traffic control, I use radios, a lot of radios as well, but always behind the curtain.
Behind the scenes, behind the curtain.
Yeah.
But you are not in the military yourself. I remember when I first started talking to you, I thought that you were a military guy, because I assumed that if you worked as an air traffic controller at a military base that you were...
Kathleen, you are wrong. I'm NCO.
You are?
I've been in the military for almost 30 years.
Really? See, well, now I'm finding out something new about you. I always thought that you were an air traffic controller who worked at a military base, but was not necessarily in the military.
Yeah. All the controllers in Albacete are military ones.
So I had to bring you all the way here to Madrid in order to clarify a misconception that I had.
A little misunderstanding.
Well, a little one, it's no big deal.
I have to say that we not only control military traffic, we control civil traffic as well, because it's a joint facility.
Okay.
We have there not very much traffic, civil traffic,
right,
but we have some of them.
That must be where I got confused, that you deal with both commercial air travel, air traffic, and also military traffic.
Yeah, we have one daily commercial flight to Barcelona, and another private to Marseille, France. But so the amount of civil traffic is not very...
It's pretty low.
It's pretty low in Albacete.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but
for the moment.
If you have an airstrip there and it's operational, I mean, I guess it makes sense to allow commercial airlines to take off and land from it if they need to.
Yes, we share the runways, the control services, the radio aids, and
and some of the costs. I mean, obviously the commercial airlines pay for.
I suppose the commercial airlines
sort of
pay
fee.
to the air forces.
Yeah. Well, now I feel like talking to you. I know too much about you almost, because I'm going to ask you questions that I already know the answer to, which is kind of a weird feeling. But the viewers don't know what I know, and that is that right now you are living as a Rodriguez in Albacete.
That's
because
right.
your wife and daughter had to go to, well, they decided to go to Salamanca, and so
Yeah.
you're kind of holding down the fort, so to speak, in Albacete, waiting to maybe possibly meet with them in Salamanca at some point.
As soon as possible.
Yeah, it's been a long time. You've been separated from them.
For
Several months.
eight months right now. Yeah.
Has that been, I know that's challenging, so I don't need to ask that question. I know it's hard for people who are married to be apart that long, but have there been some unexpected advantages to being separated a little bit from your wife and daughter?
The only advantage is that I can devote to listening and watching TV and all this to improve my English to my heart content.
To your heart's content.
Content.
Well, I know that learning English for you is more of a hobby, really.
It's a hobby.
I mean, air traffic controllers, of course, have to know English.
Yeah, but sometimes my wife didn't understand. Why are you always listening to the
To that
the
crazy
radio?
woman.
I like it. I'm enjoying. I prefer listening this program than watching this bad program on TV.
Yeah, well, some of the content that's available through radio stations, like through the BBC, through National Public Radio in the United States, and in Spain, I guess you would have, what, RTV? What's the Spanish national broadcasting radio station?
Radio Nacional.
Radio Nacional. Do you listen to that as well?
I listen as well Radio Nacional, but lately I try to listen to the BBC and of course Voan Radio,
I've been listening to the BBC
which is my
too.
favorite one.
I think you're just saying that to make me feel good. I've been listening to the BBC every morning since we've been taping this program. I've been getting up and first thing I do is I go to my computer and I click on my little hot link for BBC Radio, because it's a great way to get the latest news while
All over the world.
All over the world.
A very objective point of view.
exactly, and I don't have to like sit in front of a TV or have to watch a monitor. I can just do the dishes, whatever, make my coffee, and it's been quite helpful. In fact, by the time this this show that we're taping right now is on the air, hopefully the Icelandic volcano will stop
Issuing
issuing lava and smoke.
and the smoke. Yeah.
Because I'm sure that's made your life a bit of a misery in the past.
No.
It hasn't affected you?
This cloud of dust didn't affect very much Spain.
Really?
No, the cloud didn't get that far southern. No.
Well, it affected the flights coming in from the UK or
Yeah.
coming in from Scandinavia, of course.
Yeah, most of Europe was affected, but not Spain.
Well, they say that this thing is going to continue to emit and spew
Yeah,
smoke and lava for a long time.
I've heard that Ireland is going to kind of close some airports due to the cloud coming again southwards.
Mother Nature is costing airlines and airports a lot of money right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, one of the things that I think, and I could be taking a liberty here, but I'm guessing that maybe one of the advantages to being separated against your will, really, from your family, is that it gave you an opportunity to be part of a little experiment that my friend Lourdes and I was the one that started it, and Lourdes became my henchman, which is another word for saying my partner in crime, which was to use you, with your approval and your willingness, as our guinea pig to the difference between eating a diet that includes animal products and one that does not. And you called me one day on the radio about 3 months ago?
2 months ago.
2 months ago, more or less. And we were talking about the fact that you had taken a
Medical test.
A medical test, like your normal annual checkup.
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years, semi-annual.
To pass this medical test.
Okay, so you had to take this test, and you had to do well and pass in order to continue to be an air traffic controller. And that you were disappointed because you hadn't done as well as you thought. Your
My figures
were not so good. And you'd heard me talk about vegetarianism and how I was trying to be a vegetarian, and my new obsession with eating well and taking care of myself. And you called me one day and said, what advice can you give me? And what did I say?
You challenged me.
I did.
Just to follow a strict vegetarian diet, just to check if my high level of cholesterol could be lowered, and I did it
and you said
very
that
strictly.
You said that much better than I did, or I could have, because the thing is that I sort of threw down the glove, which means I challenged you to give it up for 1 month, and you were like, well, wait a minute, can I still have eggs and cheese, a little bit of cheese, and a little bit of milk? And I said no. And you said, why not? I said, because for the purposes of our experiment, you have to go, what we would say in English, cold turkey. Have you ever heard that expression?
Cold turkey, very disciplined?
Cold turkey means to stop something immediately. Like if you want to quit smoking, there are 2 ways to quit. One, you can get the patch and slowly quit smoking.
Get used to,
or you can go what we call cold turkey, which means one day that's your last cigarette and that's it. Sometimes that's easier for people if you can handle it. And I knew through talking to you over 3 years that you were a very disciplined person. And I knew,
have to be. Being
a military guy.
Military guy.
And I thought, well, if anybody can do this, it's you. And so when you asked me about the milk and the cheese and the eggs, I said, no, you have to go cold turkey, no dairy, no animal products at all for 1 month. And you did it.
I have to say that it wasn't very easy for me to do it. I kind of had help from my wife and from my
Teresa's
in-laws.
a vegetarian.
Teresa is almost vegetarian, ovo-lactea, vegetariana. And my in-laws and my wife helped me a lot when I visited them in Salamanca, because for me it's not very easy to follow a strict diet, a vegetarian. I'm not a good cook. I'm quite a mediocre cook. I'm not.
And you're a Spaniard.
But I don't have much imagination just to choose or to cook
vegetarian dishes.
Yeah, general dishes, but let alone vegetarian dishes.
Right.
So I have to say that right now I've relaxed a little because it's not easy for me to follow a complete vegan diet.
Well, it's not easy for me either. In fact, I don't think that I follow a strict vegan diet. I think I would like to, but it's so impractical and so difficult to do something like that, especially living in Spain. But for the purposes of the experiment, getting back to that, the whole idea was to have your blood cholesterol levels tested at the beginning of the period of animal-free eating, and then have them tested again at the end. And if I remember correctly, Emilio, you went beyond 1 month. You did it for a month, and then I think you went an extra month, didn't you?
No. Well, I keep on kind of following this diet, but not as strictly as I did for this month.
Okay.
This month it was a very strict diet, and in the end, or at the end of this month, the results of my other analysis proved you right.
I assumed that they would. The only thing that might have gotten in the way or interfered with that is if you had some underlying medical condition. But I had already met you, and I knew that you were a very healthy, athletic guy. I mean, clearly you're not overweight, And I know that you exercise quite frequently and that you've always done well on your tests before.
I do sport regularly.
Yeah.
I did a lot of cycling, even in competition.
You're a competitive cyclist.
I used to be a competitor cyclist, but not anymore. Right now I keep on doing sport, but just to feel fit.
Right. But what was, I can't remember exactly your number, the number of your bad cholesterol, which I think is the is that the LDL? I can't remember if it's LDL or HDL.
Was 200, and the units I'm not very I'm not, the units I don't know.
I don't know anything about it. I know
milligrams by deciliter. No, I'm not
you
sure.
want to lower. Your objective is to have a lower number,
Yeah.
and your number of bad cholesterol was too high. And I think that when you had your test retaken at the end of the month, that you lowered it by 40 or 50 points.
The bad cholesterol lowered by 40%.
That's
and
incredible.
The whole cholesterol that was quite high lowered by 30%.
So the overall figure was lowered, of the two, the ratio between the two was lowered by 30%. The bad cholesterol was lowered by 40%.
That's right.
So did this prove to you in your own mind that animal products are the main problem behind people with high cholesterol?
Well, it proved it to me quite a lot.
Right.
And I'm convinced to follow this guideline that you gave me, because of course the results were good.
How do you feel though, as opposed, just aside from the numbers and what it looks like on paper, how do you feel? And don't lie to me, be honest. Do you feel better than you did before when you had your normal diet?
I feel good. I think.
Do you feel better though?
I feel perhaps when I do a sport or go to the gym, for instance, perhaps I've lost a little weight and I'm not so strong by brute force.
You feel like you've lost a little bit of physical strength.
But I've won stamina.
So your endurance has increased, your stamina,
I think so. I'm not very sure, but in general, I feel even better. Why not? Because I suppose I don't consume so much toxins.
Well, I think the whole objective is not, I mean, people approach vegetarianism, veganism, whatever, from different angles. Some people go into it because of animal rights. Some people because of health problems, like people that have diabetes or high cholesterol. Some people for, as in my case, for sheer vanity and wanting to look and feel good. But I mean, everybody has their own motivation. I think that one thing that's important to consider is that some people have high cholesterol as a result of an inherited gene. I mean, they actually have a problem. You can be a thin person like my mother and have high cholesterol, but it can still be affected in a positive way by diet.
That's precisely what the doctor told me. That for sure it was a genetical case, and I wasn't going to achieve good results without having pills.
Yeah, and nobody wants to be forced to take medication if there's another option.
And that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I'm going to try this, and it was correct. I lowered without taking any pills nor medicaments.
Well, I'm really proud of you. I mean, not that you need me to be proud of you, but I feel a certain sense of accomplishment and pride in the fact that you were willing to at least try something that I was convinced was the right thing to do. Now, obviously, I'm not a doctor, but I've read a lot about this subject in a year. And two, that you had such discipline, that you were willing to do something that most of the guys I know would not do it, because most of the guys I know are big meat eaters. In fact, they are a little bit annoyed with the fact that I have embraced this new vegetarianism. And there is a little bit of ridicule, like, oh, you're not eating cheese, what's wrong with you, it's good for you. I'm like, well, you know what, everybody does what they need to do. Whatever's right for you, if it feels good, do it, by all means.
Uh-huh.
But
No, the only downside of all this is that when I told my wife, who is almost a vegetarian, her reaction was, well, I've been telling you about this all these years, and I don't know, I don't want to know who has convinced you to do this.
yeah, did you tell her? Did you tell her it was me?
No, she
still doesn't-
didn't want it to know.
So she still. So we do have kind of a secret situation here. I don't like. We have to be completely honest and have full disclosure, Emilio, or I'm going to be uncomfortable with this. You need to tell Teresa that you were on TV with me today, so that we could talk about your accepting of the challenge that I.
No, she will notice that the advice was yours.
Right. Well, I'd have to say that after 1 year, it's been about 1 year for me of radically changing my diet, I answered the same question honestly that I just asked you, which is, do I feel better? And I don't know if I feel better or if I just feel happier that I look better. So it's hard to know if I actually feel better. I feel about the same. I always feel a little bit better when I'm not carrying extra weight. I think you brought up a good point.
Of course.
You know,
Not having or not being overweight is an advantage.
Even an extra kilo or two, when you're thin like you and I are, an extra kilo or two can kind of alter the way you feel physically. So I don't know if I feel better, but I'll say that I think I look a little bit better. Like my skin seems to be a bit improved. Basically, my physical appearance I think has improved. And two, it saves a lot of time because I don't cook very much anymore. Like you said, you don't cook at all. But I used to cook a lot. Now I don't cook. I mean, I cook maybe once a month.
Because you have raw vegetables?
I try to eat more. I try to eat food in its natural state as often as I can. So for instance, in the old days, prior to a year ago, I might have cooked a breakfast for myself. I might have had 2 poached eggs on toast with, something else. Now I just pick up a banana as I'm leaving the house, or I pick up an apple, or I do something that's a bit more, I don't know, whole food oriented.
I need to learn much more about this kind of food because, I still stick to my coffee in the mornings and toast.
I think most people do, though, Emilio. I think for most people to change a habit or to adopt a new one takes a few months before you actually get used to a new way of going or of eating. But it can be done. I mean, in your case, you're 3 months into it now? Has it been about 3 months since you started?
Since it's going to turn 3 months.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll tell you this quite honestly. I met you once 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
About 2 years ago, maybe a little bit more than 2 years ago, when we had the Aprende Inglés
commemoration, 1 year commemoration.
We had the 1 year anniversary party, and that was the first time I'd met you. I'd already talked to you for a year or 2 on the phone.
On the phone.
So it was a thrill to meet you. But I have to be perfectly honest and take this in the right way. I think you look better than you did when I first met you. I mean, I haven't seen you for 2 years, and yet you don't look any older. In fact, you look a bit better.
Oh, thank you.
No, I mean it. I mean it. You look really great.
The thing which I am most worried about is right now, this month, I have to take this important new analysis.
Well, I want you to...
Which will entitle me to follow with my career or with my job.
Will you please share the details of that, the results with me? Because we're out of time.
Of course.
Believe it or not, we're finished with our conversation, but we'll pick it up again, and I'll try to share the information with
I'll share this information with you. I don't know if on TV or on radio, but I'll do it.
Thank you, Emilio. Emilio Barbaran.
You're welcome.
I really enjoyed seeing you again. And thank you for tuning in to another episode here in my living room. We'll be back with more exciting guests for you very soon. So, adios, ciao, bye-bye.